Well, good morning, all you wonderful people, and welcome to May 24th of 2024. It's a special day for me, some of you know, because it's my birthday today. And I woke up and I asked, if I could do anything on my birthday, which, generally you get asked that question a lot, what would you do? And I started to think about it, and the only thing I wanted to do for sure this birthday was this video. And so, where most receive gifts on their birthday, I am going to share one with you. Okay? So, welcome to the Mic Drop. I'm your host, the Mike with the Most, Mike Mullahan, licensed school counselor, and with some big news today, I'll be sharing with you kind of the road so far, how we got to this point, and then kind of set up a little bit about what next season, or this coming season, is going to be. So, two parts. First, the Mullahan, then the mission. So part one. I started this Mic Drop channel on my birthday a couple years ago with a singular purpose, and it was to provide a safe environment for people to share their thoughts and feelings about their work situations, and specifically in this one it's been the public education system, because there's a lot of us that have worked in the system for years that felt like if we ever said anything truthfully about how we felt working there, the apocalypse would happen, for lack of a better term. And there's not a lot of people that have felt safe or comfortable to share their stories of what they've had to go through, because they're afraid of the retribution. They're afraid of the backlash. They're afraid of what's going to happen to them professionally. Some of them are even afraid of what's going to happen to their families, which that should frighten you a little bit. If you're working for an employer and they're trying to kind of control how you do things by placing fear of what could happen to you and your family if you don't have a job, that's the worst form of manipulating control that exists, and it's also the most prominent one in this country. So, heads up. I told you guys at the beginning of this year that I wouldn't be doing a Mic Drop video while I was working at Hazelwood School District, because I didn't want a conflict of interest to happen. And basically what that means is I don't want any of the kids that I serve coming to talk to me because they want to talk about what's on my YouTube channel. I want kids to come and talk to me because of what's going on in their life. So, as much as I would have loved to have been putting out content this entire year, and believe me, I have a lot, I made a promise to the kids that I wouldn't do that. And of course, the kids are like, no, it's fine. We'll talk to you about everything. Like, you can totally do your videos. Like, well, I've been doing this a while. And while I believe your intentions and I believe your words, I can't reliably count on them all the time. So, kind of a little bit more of the story of where I've come from. When I started working at Hazelwood, I had a pretty good grasp of what I wanted to do while I was there. I had gone in, it was my final year that I had to be in public education. As some of you know, I've had over $140,000 in student loan debt ever since I graduated from grad school way back in 2012. And it's been a mission to get that debt paid off. Well, here's part one of the changes that have happened with me on the road so far. As of December of 2023, $140,000 in college loan debt for me has been completely wiped away. Now, before you start to have a little bit of inkling towards a certain way with our current man in charge of the country taking credit for a lot of the forgiveness that is happening student loan wise, I'm going to tell you specifically with my story. I got an email from Joe Biden that said, hey, we forgive your loans, and we did that under my administration, and so you should remember that when you go to the polls. And I'm like, my dude, this started in 2007 with Bush, way ago. I've been doing this for longer than you've been in that office, and it is not your administration's reason why I have my loans forgiven. I worked for 10 years in public ed. I made consecutive 120 payments, and I got it paid off. That was the plan in 2007. That plan came to fruition at the end of 2023, regardless of what Biden likes to tout as what he did. So that's my story. Now, I'm sure he's helping, sure, lots of people, and I'm sure you have where you land on that issue. Again, your truth is completely valid. My truth is that I worked my butt off to get that money paid off, and I succeeded. And it took a lot. And I had a lot of people encouraging me along the way, because public education is not the safest place, as you can tell from these videos, to work at. So, that's phase one. Kind of knowing that public education, after my experience at Middlebury Community Schools, was the corrupt establishment that it was, I started to search my soul for how I was going to continue to do the job that I wanted to do, specifically, helping kids, being an advocate for those without a voice. How do I do that whilst still being in the public education realm? And my brain didn't come up with a solution. Thankfully, my brain is about this big in compared to the grandfather who has a plan for us all. And he saw it fit to move me into a different direction. And so I can tell you, as of this video, that while I am a licensed school counselor of 12 years, also in December, my brother David and I made a pact that by the end of that year, we would take our industry's certification, approval, licensure type test. And he's in IT and I'm in therapy. So he had a systems administrations test and I had the national counselor's examination, because I wanted to become a therapist, a licensed practicing therapist, not controlled by a public institution who cares more about the school district than the actual children that they serve. I decided to go out and decide I'm going to be a therapist. And so in December, again, I took my test for the National Counselor Examination and I passed. So you are looking at a nationally certified counselor. And what this allows me to do is I'm going to be creating my own practice. And I'm still going to be doing a lot of the things that I'm doing already now, but there's going to be more content on that and kind of where that's going. But here's what you should know that directly pertains to some of this and why I'm doing this video now, knowing that there's still school days left in the school year. Some of you guys watched my teaser trailer video for this upcoming season, and it revolved around a story of a student by the name of Kaylee Gain. And for those of you that don't know that story, it made national news. It was on CNN, and it was a very, I'm just going to call it a brutal incident. And people land on both sides of what happened, and everybody has their own opinions, and I only have my one opinion. And it's the same regardless of the situation, regardless of the ages of the people involved, regardless of the color of the skin, regardless of the gender. It doesn't matter. They're children, and they need help. They're fighting. They need help. Like, how do I go and help kids? And what happened was, at the school system that I worked at Hazelwood School District, not at the school that I worked at, but not too far away, there was a kind of a brutal physical altercation between two students. And the receiving student towards the end of the altercation had been physically hurt in such a way that she had brain damage, a cracked skull, and ended up in the hospital. And these are middle school kids. Okay, so these aren't even the teenagers in high school and that kind of stuff. These are our middle school kids. And it broke my heart the way that the school district handled that situation. What I've come to discover about Hazelwood is, and what I'm beginning to believe about most public school institutions, is that they care more about their public image than they care about the safety of their children. So, in typical corrupt establishment fashion, they did a lot to kind of cover up the truth of what's been going on. And that's going to come out in the very first video that I do. That's going to be the next of this next season for the mic drop, okay? Which is more the mission. And so we'll get back to that. But, so, here's what you should know. Licensed therapist, college loans forgiven, about to move into a different field away from public education to a degree. To a degree, why do I say that? Well, working at Hazelwood was so negative and so almost trauma remembering inducing. It was triggering on some PTSD stuff that I had working at Middlebury. It was so bad that I was becoming physically ill at work. And for those of you who do know me, I don't get physically ill hardly ever. In fact, it's one of my most hated things to do. I hate the feeling of it. And anyway, so the fact that this was happening while I was at work and while I was trying to counsel children is something that has never, ever happened to me before. And it made me really take notice of what's going on. And it turns out I cannot be saturated in an environment where there are people constantly lying to children about the truth of what's going on in their school district. And as much as I would try to be there for the children and just be that unbiasedly and help them where they were at, a lot of the stuff that they were coming in with was a lot of the same stuff that was causing problems in every public institution and a lot of the ones in Middlebury Community Schools. There's been, the difference I would say between these two, which will come out a little bit later, is that Middlebury is tiny, like very tiny, very small. Hazelwood is one of the bigger school districts around the cusp of the city of St. Louis, a little bit bigger. So it's going to get a little bit more, I would say, attention, just more of a spotlight, for lack of a better term. But after everything that happened with Kaylee, and after everything that I'd witnessed throughout the year, I went to my therapist and I said, I'm getting physically ill at work, and I'm studying to be a therapist, and I know what this means to anyone I would counsel, but I need someone else to tell me. And he very clearly told me, I can tell that you working there is definitely triggering the trauma that you experienced at Middlebury, and you need to quit working there as soon as possible for your own mental health. In fact, I'm going to write a letter based on where you've landed on some of the axes that I've tested you on, showing directly how it has deleteriously affected your health this entire year. And thankfully, my therapist has been counseling me for a couple years now, so we've been doing this. He's seen me prior to Hazelwood. And as such, I took that letter and I went to the Department of Human Resources and I said, look, my therapist is recommending that I quit my job as soon as possible for my own health. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to finish out the school year because I want to be here for these kids. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it because I've never in my life had to leave the middle of a counseling session because I felt like I was going to throw up, ever. And I've been doing this a while. So I'm paying attention. Andy Stanley is a pastor out of Georgia, and he has a very famous saying that I really love, and he says, pay attention to the tension in your life. If you have something that's tense, if you have something you're wrestling with, there's a reason why you're wrestling with it. So you should probably pay attention to it. I did what I could, and I tried. But at the end of last month, so this has been a few weeks now, I quit. I quit Hazelwood on April 29th because you know what it's like to work at a corrupt place that is harming the people that you want to serve. And if you care, which I believe a lot of you do, and you have any developed sense of empathy, you're going to feel it on a regular basis. And I feel it constantly because I always try to be on the ground level where my kid's at, where are the struggles, what are you facing day to day? And it's rough, man. It's the hardest time to be a 20-something out there in a really long time. And my brother is, mid-20s right now, and he's going through it too. So for myself, it's kind of moving in a better direction where I'm going to be able to help children and families in a way that I know they need help without a school corporation or a public school agenda forcing my hand to try and counsel kids in a certain way to produce a certain outcome. That is the dark truth behind public education. And this is probably going to set off a storm of controversy, and I don't care, because controversy needs to happen in order for positive change to take place when stagnation has been prevalent in one of the most corrupt institutions that exists in our country. Not the most, but it's up there. It's up there. So I quit. And I told him, I said, I'm going to do everything in my power coming out of this to expose every single thing that I saw while I was here. And people were like, really? What are you going to do? And I just smiled. And one of the things I wanted to mention on the road so far was what has the advocacy done from the mic drop at this point? Have we accomplished anything other than being able to share some truths? Have we, made people feel more comfortable or not feel as isolated and alone because of what they're going through? I hope so. I really do. That's part of the goal, is to make sure that you guys have a voice. But another part of the goal is change. The only way that this is actually going to get better is if we start mixing it up, changing how things have been, because it's not working. And so these are just some facts of what's transpired since I've started the mic drop. In Middlebury Community Schools, around the time that I started the mic drop and a little bit before, the assistant superintendent of Middlebury Community Schools no longer works at Middlebury Community Schools. Earlier this year, the head principal of Northridge High School, Drew Wood, which I've done a couple of video about on here, no longer works there. The chief of police of Middlebury Community Schools, Officer Schatz, no longer works there. And I'm starting to see a pattern of what this advocacy leads to. And it's leading to accountability. And that's fantastic. Because I don't know that the people that have been in power in public education have been held to any sense of accountability that actually matters, like the kids, for a long time. So in the brief time that I've done this, 3 of the highest paid positions in that school district were replaced. Now, you can draw whatever conclusions you want, and there are a plethora of reasons on why I've chosen to step down and why this is the right time to retire and why my health is and the other. If you believe that, you go right ahead. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's coming from the same mouths that preach the truths to you about public ed that you're already having a problem with. So believe whatever story you want. I'm not going to share anything that's untrue. I'm just sharing my truth. And that's a truth. Those positions, those people no longer work there. So it makes me think, if I have more ammunition at Hazelwood, even after a year, and, here's a keynote. Because of what happened with Kaylee Gain, the situation was so terrible, the Attorney General of the state of Missouri has launched an investigation into the entire school district. And I'm going to tell you right now, one of the very first things that I did after I quit and my contract had ended was to email the Attorney General of the state of Missouri and say, Attorney General, I worked as the counselor at Hazelwood Opportunity Center for the majority of this year. I am ending my employment early because of some of the stuff that I've witnessed. If you would like to have a conversation, here's my number. And it's going to happen. So, advocacy, the mission, going pretty well. But finally, some of you are wondering, okay, so you don't have a job, you don't want to work in public ed, you have a plan for starting your own practice. Well, what are you doing right now? Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen right now. And this is probably one of my favorite parts of this mic drop video. I'm finally going to be in control of my own professional destiny, 100%. And for some of you guys that are listening that don't understand what that is yet, when you do, if you do, I pray that you do, it brings with it a sense of freedom and confidence that I don't think I've ever had in my life. And not many people would accuse me of not being confident, especially when you can dance like a fool in front of 80 kids with a bunch of band instruments for the entertainment value of a large auditorium or a gymnasium. So, I've already have a job. Is that crazy? Like, I became provisionally licensed as a licensed professional counselor on January 18th of this year, about 4 months ago. And I just started looking around as to what jobs that are out there for licensed professional counselors or provisionally licensed professional counselors, and guess what? I found one. I found a really good one. So this is going to be the mission. I'm leaving public education. In a way. I am no longer going to let the public education system control how I counsel children, which means I'm no longer going to be taking money from them. Period. Now, does that mean I'm not going to be working in public education systems? No, not at all. In fact, that's exactly where I'm going next. So, here's the next chapter. One of the places that I've already been hired at, I say one, because when you get to be this level, you can contract with many different organizations to offer your services as a licensed professional counselor. This is one of what I assume to be many at some point in my life. I'm working for an organization called the Megan Meier Foundation. The Megan Meier Foundation, if you want to look it up, you're going to start to see some links about a movie on Netflix from 2013 called Cyberbully. And it's the story of Megan Meier and what happened to her. And she's was a local teenager around here in the St. Louis area that was the victim of cyberbullying, bullying in schools, to the unfortunate conclusion that she took her own life. And her mother, Tina, decided that this needs to stop. This has been going on way too long in our public schools. This needs to stop. I'm declaring war against cyberbullying and bullying. And when I heard that and I read that mission, I signed up immediately. Like, please, can I work for you? Like, I would love to do what you're going to do and what you're already doing. And yeah, it didn't take long. I already have a contract ready to go for them starting in August. And I'll be working, wait for it, in public education. Now, here's the difference. Instead of getting paid by the school district to promote the school district agenda with children under the guise of counseling, I am now going to be paid by a grant that the city of St. Charles decided needs to happen in order to end cyberbullying in this area. Good job, St. Charles. You're doing it right. And so through this grant, they're hiring social workers, counselors, school counselors, therapists to actively go at and try to help end bullying, especially in schools. That'll be my job. And I get to do that maybe a couple days a week, maybe 5 days a week, maybe 1 day a week. However much I would like to and however much the need is there, that's what I get to do. And I'm not getting paid by the school. I'm getting paid by the foundation. And guess what the foundation cares more about than anything else? The child. Not the mission of the district. Not a political leaning agenda. Not something that they're trying to push through the school system to get your children to think something differently than how you're raising them to think in the home. That happens pretty frequently. So, that's where I'll be going. That starts in August. But that's not all. One of the things I'm going to leave with you at the end of this video is some information. I have already started my next chapter. And I'm going to start booking and taking individual therapy and counseling sessions. Probably as early as next month. Today's my birthday. I don't really feel like working today. And I'm probably going to take the next week off because I would have been working at the school anyway, to kind of just get myself ready for the next chapter. And what you will see coming out of that, specifically for you guys, is you'll start to see the content. You're going to see the Hazelwood School drama. You're going to hear a lot about stuff that you didn't know was going on, but it's all going to tie into the same message. And this is the message that you need to hear. If you don't hear anything else from me, if the mic drop doesn't give you any other clarity other than this, public education, the institution, no longer cares about what's best for your child. Are there public schools out there that are doing a really good job for what's best for children? Yeah, there are. Just like there's good companies in, the stock market, and just like there's great, leaders, in high non-for-profits and stuff like that. There's good people doing the best work they can in a corrupt institution. I know I was one of them for 10 years. So there are some schools that are doing it right. There are some people at corrupt schools that are doing it right. There are some people at corrupt schools that are dying every single day of their life trying to save the children that the school didn't care about. I've unfortunately worked for a couple of them. And I'm hearing through more and more testimony that it's common as opposed to not. So, to that end, my therapist himself and I have decided we're going to start something a little different. And I don't know exactly the form it's going to take yet, but I would love it if it comes out looking something like a podcast. And very simple. Nothing, something like Into the Woods, the Kelsey Brothers, something where you're just sitting around talking, sharing the truth about what you've experienced, either in public education as a corrupt institution or whatever corrupt institution that it is that you've worked for or are working for and you want to share. I'm going to start that. My therapist wants to do it with me. We're going to do a talk show to some degree. And we're going to invite as many people as they want to come in and share their story, either anonymously, and we'll share their stories online like I've been doing here through the mic drop, or live. But that's coming. And I am ecstatic to do it that way, because that's unfiltered truth completely. You guys get to share your story, or you can have me share your story, and people are going to talk about it. Not about you, but about the corruption, about what's been going on. And I'm excited about that. That's part of the next chapter. So, in conclusion, because I don't like to make these videos longer than 30 minutes, in the couple of years that I've created the mic drop, advocacy has won. Good people are being recognized, and bad people. I would say the people that are doing the best work in schools are starting to get recognized and more of a voice, and the people that have been trying to cover up the good job that they've been doing, their voice is starting to get challenged more. The mission is working. I am becoming a more powerful version of what I'm able to do in advocacy because of the next steps. Public education does not care about the best interest of your children. They have political agendas. They have people in their pocketbooks trying to get your children to take certain classes versus others. You already know national news about what type of agendas they're promoting in public schools. I don't even need to touch on that when you already have your own opinions. And I'm going to keep fighting against it. Hard. But I'm going to do it as a therapist now. Actually, a school-based therapist in addition to a private practicing therapist. So the next video that you'll see coming out, you're going to get my contact information. If you want to start scheduling appointments with this therapist, you can. It's coming. I got a website. It's almost done. I'm ready to roll it out soon as I'm ready to start taking clients. But if you would like to get just a little bit of taste of what the therapist Molohan is going to be like, I encourage you at the end of this video to click on the link that I'll put in the comments. It's the link for my Psychology Today profile. When you become a licensed therapist, when you become a national provider of anything really, people want to know about you, and they want to know what you stand for, what your credentials are, and who you are as a person. So, I will let you guys read on what Therapist Molohan is going to be about, but please know this, and hear me clearly when I say this. I may wear a different hat. I may become more responsible. I may have different expectations of me in this new role, but I have not changed. I am still the loud advocate for children that I will always be for the rest of my life. I've just grown it to include advocating for the people that work for children. So, to that end, I'm Mike from the Mic Drop. This has been my birthday video on the road so far. I hope you'll stay with me coming to the next season, and I can't wait to interact with you.